Tonight, I have the honor of having three YES educators join us tonight. Folks who have taught YES in their classrooms. They've got classroom stories, they've got tips from real educators. So we appreciate you being here and us kind of hearing from some different voices other than ourselves. So I will let them introduce themselves in just a moment. But to get us started, I have some goals for tonight's webinar, and so we're really hoping tonight that after you attend this webinar, you'll discover some effective strategies to prepare and facilitate your own youth engineering solutions experience and learn from these educators who have implemented many times. And then also just to hopefully recognize the lasting impact that these experiences have on student engagement. So we'll talk about a few different things tonight. So I'm going to go over our goals. I'll give you a quick overview of youth engineering solutions if you're new to the program. But then we will hear from our panelists tonight. And so they'll be talking a little bit about the units that they teach, why they chose the units that they teach. They'll share some tips and tricks about managing materials and preparing some of those materials. And also some facilitation. How do they modify these youth engineering units to work best for them? And then share a little bit about the impact that they have on students. And then again, we'll have some time for Q&A. So as we go, feel free to write any questions you have in the chat. So I'll be monitoring the chat. I also have a couple polls that I'll ask you to fill out. So the questions that I ask our panelists, I'll also ask you just to get your input as well from the audience. So you can certainly add any questions to the chat. And then at the end of the session, I will, feel free to raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can ask questions online as well. So again, I'll give you a brief overview if you're not familiar with Youth Engineering Solutions. Our mission at Youth Engineering Solutions is to create the next generation of problem solvers through hands-on STEM learning. We are based out of the Museum of Science in Boston. And we, really work to empower young learners through accessible and standards-aligned STEM, engineering, computer science curricula in K through 8. So really, if you are an educator in preschool through 8th grade, we have free resources for you to implement high quality engineering with your students and computer science. They're all free for download, so you can visit our website at yes.mos.org to explore some of these resources. We are formally known as EIE, so we're backed by 3 decades of research and leadership in STEM education. And so we really are trying to kind of shape our future problem solvers and help develop skills in our students so that they can tackle these real world problems. And so our general approach to how we work with students and how we design our curriculum, you can see our framework for engineering learning here, but we really focus on building problem solving habits, collaboration and persistence. And our main goal is to really help shape students' identities as being STEM people, so we want them to see themselves as engineer and really deepen their STEM identity by engaging in engineering activities. And so all of our units are really designed around these authentic real world problems. So they address these kinds of problems, like they address the issue of plastic pollution or declining bee populations or keeping medicine coolers cool. So they're all introduced to a real world problem, and then through kind of a 5 to 9 lesson sequence, depending upon which unit you select, students will engage through We'll basically follow the engineering design process to try and solve that real world authentic problem. So they'll explore, just what engineering is, they'll think about the problem, they'll explore materials, and then finally, after many scaffolding lessons, hopefully feel prepared to use what they've learned to engineer and design a solution to that problem. So there's a lot of resources online, so I encourage you to go online. You'll see student engineering notebooks that guide our exploration, and all of the materials that we have that are student facing are also available in both English and Spanish. So that, again, is just kind of a very, very brief overview of what our curriculum is really all about. I would now like to, hear from educators who have implemented our curriculum. So we have three amazing educators here with us tonight, and I really appreciate them taking the time out of their busy schedules. And Anthony even stayed home from school with a cold today, so they're sick, and they are busy and tired. So I appreciate them being here, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So Anthony, if you wanted to say hello and share a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Anthony Arno. I taught fifth grade for about 32 years in New Jersey, and I retired in 2019. Always had a love of science and STEM, although earlier in my career they didn't call it STEM. So during the pandemic, I went back to school and became STEM endorsed in Pennsylvania, and now I'm teaching K to 5 STEM at Willowdale Elementary School. And, from the early days of EIE to the current iteration of Yes, it is an incredible program. And best of all, like she said, it's all free. They used to be for a fee, but incredible hands-on engineering that kids really don't see at the elementary level, where they actually build stuff. And you don't need expensive materials. It could be stuff like upcycled toys, stuff that's being recycled. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Michelle, you want to say hello to everybody?
Hi, my name is Michelle Forbes. I'm from Boston. I teach at Bradley Elementary School. I teach K0 to sixth grade. I teach a class called Innovation. It's a specialty, so it's in addition to kids already receiving science between 3 and 5 times a week. So I get a little more freedom. So for me, I teach a lot of engineering standards throughout the year, but for me, the kits just fit right into what I'm doing. The hands-on experiential learning is right where I'm at, and the kids love it. It's great. We have a lot of fun.
Thanks, Michelle. And Doug, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Doug Robertson. I am from Oxford, North Carolina. Been teaching for over 23 years, being technology and engineering, STEM, kind of a little bit of everything. My school is set up where I can teach middle school and high school at the time. And, we have what we call lower school. So our lower school is K through 6, and I would like to kind of introduce them to the Yes program, which I have done previously. But I just want to create a transition of this. Is it fits right into, I guess, my pathway that I want to try to create, especially for the middle school up to the high school. But looking at the elementary, which I see the two other teachers are doing elementary, I think that's where we need to start, and that's why I'm there, to start that learning with this project-based learning, collaborative learning. That way, when they get up to my high school, they can benefit a little bit more than what we're doing now. So, hello.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. Um, Great. Well, let's dive in. I've got some questions for the panelists. I also want to hear from you. So before I kind of open it up, our first kind of topic for the evening is for us to think a little bit about how did you decide which Yes units to implement? What factors influence your choices? So I'm going to also open a poll right now. That if you're online, you can feel free to share the kinds of factors that you all from the audience consider when choosing a Yes, or even just in general, a hands-on engineering unit. What kind of comes to mind when, what do you think about when choosing a unit? So let's first hear from Anthony. I'd love to hear about your units and what kind of went into your process for choosing the units that you work with.
Thank you. I think the units are very diverse. Some that, even as an adult, you would never figure out with engineering, but everyday practical. One of my favorite ones is assistive sock devices, where you have to create a device that will put on a sock on your foot if you cannot bend your leg, like if you have a broken leg. And it's always a challenge because not every kid gets it successfully. But we look at it and see what could we do differently. And if there's a child, there's a student in your classroom who had a broken leg, they can definitely relate to this. Whether it be their parent helping them put their sock on, or them trying to put the sock on, even though their leg is in a cast.
Nice. Thank you, Anthony. And Doug, I know you also have taught many of our units. Wanted to see if you wanted to share a little bit about how you've selected your YES units and how you use them.
Okay. Yes, I've used these units, the alert systems, at the elementary level last year for the first time, and I just want to introduce them of the way it was set up. That way they can see who I am, what the curriculum was like, and they just need to do more hands-on, my opinion. So we don't have a STEM teacher at that level, so I took the initiative to go to them during my planning period, and it happens to be that I was approached by Yes to try this particular module. I ran out of time, but I learned a lot from it, and I'm hoping to do more with that with the elementary. But with the other two, the landing pads, we did a drone camp the year before, I believe, and I just want to transition into that module and just show the types of things that drones are used in the industry, and that we have to look at how to safely drop the package. And I figured that fit right in perfectly to what we have at the school. I haven't taught the drones in classroom yet, but we're starting to do a little bit more. There's only about two other teachers that can kind of teach the STEM area, but I'm the main one, so I had to kind of fit what's best for the students and what I have available. And for this program, the Yes with the landing pads, it was great for the drones. The earthquake resistant buildings, I show a documentary called Dream Big. And in that documentary, it has a particular feature about earthquakes. And it tells a story of an individual, how she became an engineer and why she did what she did to help her country survive earthquakes. So I use that system with that video to show the students, look, this is what we can do. So with the materials that the Yes program had, it just fit perfectly with that video, and the students can better understand earthquakes because, of course, the U.S. have earthquakes as well, and North Carolina, we have earthquakes too. So I was trying to connect with that particular project.
Nice. Thank you, Doug. I'll also just end the poll. So if you wanted to get your last thoughts in, I'm going to end the poll and we can actually see what factors you all. Let me share the results. So it looks like many of you, what's kind of the biggest thing, really you're choosing units based off of the availability of your materials and the resources you have. Looks like the time required to teach and how complex some of these units are. Alignment with curriculum. So looks like we're all kind of thinking about similar things when choosing units. But yeah, thank you for participating in that. I'm going to stop sharing the poll now and introduce us to our next topic here. So the other thing, thinking about materials and how you use them and think about them in terms of implementing some of the Yes units. I thought it would be a great time to ask our educators here to think about the systems that you found effective for preparing and storing materials, because hands-on engineering, hands-on STEM, hands-on anything requires a lot of organization and strategies for managing some of those materials. So I do have a poll again. So while we're hearing from the panelists, I can also want to learn from you all, not just about material management, but also, that may be a challenge for you. What are some of the bigger challenges you face when doing hands-on engineering with students? Is it materials? Is it the prep time? Is it establishing those roles? So feel free to answer some of those poll questions while the panel and I talk about a couple of questions related to storage systems and just facilitation tips. So I would love to pass it to Michelle because she shared some beautiful pictures and tips about how she handles some of that material storage and preparation tips.
Thank you. I do teach on a cart, so I push into all my classes K-6. And as you can see in the forefront of this picture is just a bunch of materials that I have collected over the years. And way in the back, I have these nice, neatly stacked containers of Yes units, all ready to go. They're much more, they stack very well in comparison to my other materials that I have amassed. This is a particularly messy day, but yeah, I just really find, moving from room to room, has its own challenges. And the Yes units, everything, I don't have to go through all my kits to find what I need. Everything's in one place. And I'm lucky enough to have a prep in the morning so I can take what I need from the kit. I have a big tray and I bring it up to my cart and I have it all set for the day. And usually I'm teaching probably 2 classes out of 1 kit, and I just make sure that I have all the printed materials and physical materials ready for the students' lab. But like I said, everything is in one place, so I don't have to go. I also have a storage shed out in our schoolyard, and sometimes I'm running there to get materials. Sometimes I'm running just all over the building. I just have stuff on each floor. We don't have an elevator. So maybe some of you guys can relate to that. I'm not sure. Hopefully you guys have nice big labs, but um, yeah.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Doug, I didn't know if you had any tips or tricks you have for keeping all your materials in one spot or how you manage that.
Well, I'm not as organized as Michelle, but I do not have a lab. It's a smaller classroom where I teach middle school and high school together. So, but I do have working tables that have components underneath. And what I've done with these materials is I just fill up the trays with the supplies that my students need. Because all my classes use pretty much the same materials all day. And to replenish, I just build up year after year and just fill up my trays. Sometimes I'll have an empty table where I'll just put all the other materials on that, and my students just when it's time to get materials to do their prototypes, they'll go to the middle of the table, pick what they need, and take it back to their workstations. But yeah, it's a challenge with materials, and always a budget is an issue. But most of the materials I use are consumable, so I just ask all the teachers, "Do you have newspaper? Do you have this? Do you have cardboard?" And I save cardboard throughout the year because I know I'm going to use that. So when I do use use the Yes modules, I just gather materials in one location and say, okay, this is what I have here, and at your tables you have the other supplies. So it kind of blends in together. No, I don't have all the compartments yet, but that's in the near future. We are expanding to a newer facility where I will have a one of those traditional labs where I have more space and things. So seeing Michelle's picture there, that gave me some ideas on what I can do with my space. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for the picture, Michelle. And then Doug, we actually have a follow-up question from our previous comment, and Christopher is wondering if you've been able to adapt the units for high schoolers at all.
I was just looking at that. I was wondering how I would respond to it.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, I want to create this pathway from the elementary to middle school into high school, I use this particular approach in the high school. I have a curriculum that is perfect fit with what the Yes is promoting with the engineering design process. And in my class, I really promote the documentation and following the process. So the way the Yes program is set up with different lessons, it follows the design process just like my high school. And the high school level, I do a more advanced projects, which they learn through these systems here. But in my high school level, they have to come up with a problem to solve. They have to come up with the solution and they have to come up with the materials and build the prototype and test the prototype and then showcase their prototype. So it's a much bigger aspect than using this yes approach. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, well, we'll hear, we can feel free to add any other questions in the chat. We'll take them as we can. But thank you, Doug, for sharing that. Another thing I wanted to touch upon is not only material management, that's one component, but also just teaching strategies and facilitation. So I'll point to Michelle first to just kind of share a little bit about facilitation strategies she's found most effective in supporting student learning, and then any kinds of modifications that you've made to the curriculum so that it better fits your students or your teaching environment. And I'll share some of your pictures, Michelle, so you can refer to them as you share some thoughts.
Thank you. For me, I really do find that one of the strategies that's very effective for supporting a variety of learners is having a lot of visuals, to teach, to hit on all the kind of learning modalities. And I find that the kits are just filled with visuals and tactile experiences and it's just a sensory. They're exploring materials and they're talking and communicating collaboratively, and I really think that getting kids to learn in this way does take a little bit of you have to really approach it from it being like a totally new skill almost. Like, how do you talk to your partners? How do you get up from your seat and get materials and bring them back, especially at the younger age? And we start out small as the year goes on, and then as the year grows, it just becomes natural. Some modifications that I've made, because some classes I only see once a week, instead of doing individual worksheets, we might do a worksheet as a whole class. I might break some of this material exploration down into centers for the younger kids so that they're rotating through different centers. It's very engaging. And then they can get it done in one day. And I also oftentimes add on to the visuals by having like a physical reference for the kids to be able to see. This is one I just recently made for the eco slipper unit. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, I want to use that. I love the eco-friendly slipper visual. So it's beautiful. So thank you. Anthony, I was hoping you could share a little bit about some facilitation strategies, and you can speak to this. I don't want to overwhelm folks with all these words, but Anthony, we had kind of talked about your thoughts around getting kids to think like engineers.
Well, yeah, at the elementary level, the posters that the kids come with have the 5 stages of the engineering level. And I think it's always interesting in that when we do our gallery walk or the kids walk around the room, they might copy something. And these kids get so upset that other people are copying from them. And I have to stop the whole class and remind them that's part of the engineering design process. That in the real world, engineers, they collaborate and they share ideas. And even though that's not your group, it's the group at the next table, you could take it and hopefully make it better. And then I'll usually stop the class and ask them about a popular invention, whether it be the telephone or something like a paper clip. knowing that the first telephone was nothing like a smartphone. Um, and then I actually have a little video clip I play with Bell um, recording his voice at like the Philadelphia World's Fair, and not a single student understands what he had said until I say, hello, this is, Bell. So
Nice. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. Um, all right, I'm going to end the poll. What are some of the challenges that you feel like and you think of when thinking about engineering with students? And let me share some of the results. So we shared some of the tips and thoughts that people have, but that our panelists have, but yeah, some of the biggest challenges is this idea of materials and limited space. So hopefully those pictures from Michelle kind of inspired you to find space and to really keep it organized. That prep time is huge. And then, yeah, I think just this idea of, it looks like another big one is adjusting pacing or timing to fit class schedules. So just even Doug, Anthony, or Michelle, just thinking about that adjusting pacing. So Michelle, you already alluded to the fact that, sometimes a whole worksheet might be done as a class. Any do Anthony or Doug, do you facilitate the yes units exactly as written, like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, or do you kind of adjust the pacing to fit your schedules?
I probably follow the sequence and especially the slides with the different cartoons. I'll definitely include that. I try not to make a heavy paper trail. So if you're familiar with like a digital book like Book Creator, each kid I might make a page, just reflect on what you did today instead of having to collect from each class 20 or 24 papers where they're reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about that is at the end of the unit, the kids could take a picture, whatever they did that worked or didn't work. And very simple, it's in digital format. So you could see the beginning, the middle, and the end of their design process, whether or not it worked and what they would do differently.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That's great. Doug, anything to share on that?
Yes, I do follow the sequence. I print out the engineering notebook that Yes puts out, and I group my students together, and they kind of work together in the notebooks. But also, I do combine some of the units, especially when it comes to constructing, testing, and kind of elaborating on it. I kind of do all that together. And I like my students grow in that aspect when they are creating their module or their prototype, that they learning the process, but also they want to troubleshoot it. So I just kind of let them go with it for the
Mhm.
last, I guess, couple lessons in the unit. I just kind of let them go. Then I pause in for a minute. Then we talk about what they had just done, and then they record what they witnessed and observed, and just kind of combine those together. Because yes, the time in my class, I only see students twice a week, so I'm on a schedule, a block schedule, so I kind of have to speed some things up. So I find it really, really good that if I combine those particular lessons, I can get done a whole lot quicker or on time. So that's what I do.
Nice. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the poll results and or did I show? Yes. Okay, great. I shared them. Let's now chat a little bit about impact on students. So again, just we'll hear from our panelists. What impacts have you seen these Yes Engineering units have on your students? I just launched another poll for folks to just from the audience share a little bit about any impacts you see Yes and really any hands-on engineering lessons have on your students. So let's start with Doug, if you wouldn't mind just sharing just some of the impacts that you've seen on your students.
Well, some of the impacts I've seen, I see a lot of different impacts, and I want my students to do something. So when they come in my classroom, I introduce, of course, myself and the class. It's a STEM class. We're going to do a lot of projects here and there. But I also I want them to learn some of the background information just to kind of FYI kind of situation and able to get them to know what they're going to do with the project. Also, I tell them that you are applying these concepts. You're just not sitting in a math or science class lecturing, because 90 minutes is a long time to sit there and listen to our math teachers or our science teachers or English especially. So I kind of create that atmosphere in my room is that you're going to do something. Just give me 5, 10, 15 minutes and you're going to do something for the rest of the 45. And I do have students that come in and say, I'm not going to be an engineer. I don't know how to be an engineer. But I tell them everybody's an engineer because you can problem solve. We're going to work together collaboratively to come up with this solution to the project. And, I do have a good mixture of all the different diversity in my room. Um, Females, especially, because, sometimes you don't hear a lot of females in that profession. So I just tell them that, we're going to work through this and to see them working together and come up with different ideas differently. That's what makes the classroom work so well. And I have students just say, I liked your class because we get we get to do different things. We get to make things. We get to solve problems and that's what it's about, is working together to solve problems. And I see a big impact from that. And I tell them that it will benefit you in your other classes because you have to present in my class, and I know you struggle with presenting because I have students come to me one on one. Mr. Robertson, I don't speak out in front of students or other people. I said, it'll be okay. The things I want you to do, you already know. It's very informal. Just elaborate what you've done and just tell me, focus on me, and you'll be fine. And I have students come back to me after when they were in my high school from this transition in the high school level. They have come back to me saying, thank you for that because I can now do those things and present and talk about other things like this hands-on learning. So it's very beneficial. So that's the major impacts I've seen.
Nice. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Michelle, actually, do you want to share some of your thoughts?
Sure. So I just really think that overall, getting kids to solve a problem together gives them just opportunities that you can't teach them, I guess, in terms of, communicating and disagreeing with somebody politely and just thinking around like time management and the need to honestly just just have a conversation with somebody that you're not friends with, and in the end you're coming up with this genuine prototype that the group has come up with together, and it really, you just see it in the kid's face. It's joy, joy in science, and it's really something you can't get from, just sitting in front of a screen or hearing about a lesson or hearing about a great project that someone did. They're really exploring really wonderful concepts in engineering, math, science, technology. This little girl here, I have that little arrow. She started young with that's the shelters kit from the museum. And, they're accustomed to the curriculum as they grow with it, and they just have so much confidence and the language around engineering, and they really truly do start to see themselves as engineers. Like, I'm an engineer, Miss Forbes, and I'm like, yes, you are. Yes, of course. Um, it's a joy for me to teach. I love teaching it. If I had to teach something else, I would be very sad. Um, and these kits just really help to set up a really intuitive structure to teaching it. So the kids love it. I love it.
Nice. Thank you, Michelle. And Anthony, any thoughts from you? Like, what have you seen on the impact on your students?
Well, my building, I've been there about 3 years, and prior to that, they didn't have any type of STEM experience. It was a computer science lab. But I always get a kick out of when you ask the kids, what is an engineer? And either they'll say they fix things, or they build things, or an engineer builds bridges. Whereas when we're in class and we're promoting the ideas behind Yes and EIE, engineers solve problems. And it could be something like another favorite one of mine is the rescue shuttles, which is basically using like a stomp rocket. But there's a target we're trying to get that might be 40 feet down the hallway. And imagine if you were working with a fire department and you're trying to throw a rope to somebody out on the ice or in a lake that it needs quick attention. So I think over time and through the past 2 or 3 years of my building, my kids, especially the older kids, know that engineers solve problems. So
Nice. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to end the poll in a moment for you to just share a little bit about the impacts you've seen that yes, or any other hands-on engineering lessons you've seen on your students. So let me end the poll there and share the results. So I see a little bit of just this increased engagement and enthusiasm for STEM. A couple people here haven't implemented yes, which is totally fine. So I'm happy you're here. Hopefully you can feel a little inspired from our folks here today. But we also see kids who have stronger perseverance or greater collaboration. So thank you for sharing your thoughts from the audience as well. I'll stop sharing these results. And before we kind of wrap up, I just want to and open it up for some questions. From our panel here, I asked a couple of targeted questions, but now is the time to any final thoughts or practical tips. It does look like we have quite a few people who have never taught yes here before, so they're not sure how this might impact their students. So any thoughts that you might want to share? And Michelle, I know you have a thought, so I'll let you go first, and then anybody else, Anthony or Doug, you can chime in as well.
So my big thought was that it is, and I kind of alluded to this earlier about, getting the class out of their seats and talking to people they're not necessarily friends with, and working on something they might not feel totally confident in. It's, can be a little challenging if you don't approach it, go over expectations explicitly. So I always find that like starting out small and then working up to bigger projects is really helpful, especially around the younger grades, like talking about roles during group work, who's going to do what jobs, how are we going to move around the room, how are we going to get materials, and just really setting clear expectations. And if you're anxious or nervous about kind of getting kids doing hands-on projects, it really maybe like honestly just start out small with I don't know, even if you're just doing a cup tower, or the museum has great like there's like a couple mini little hands-on lessons where you can just get your feet wet and see how the kids you'll see how much they like it, actually, I think is what it is like you'll be nervous to implement it, and then you'll see that their brains are going and they're talking and they're problem solving, and it's just starting. I guess wrapping up, my final thought is that just start out small if you're anxious about starting out with a big kit, and then work towards setting clear expectations around group work. And then, once you have the kit, it really helps to guide you to really bigger ideas for the kids, bigger prototypes. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Anthony or Doug, any other final helpful tips or final thoughts that you didn't get a chance to share?
just that again, the Yes website has all the resources. And then they even have a YouTube channel. Maybe you can talk more about that, where you could actually see a lot of these lessons in action in classrooms, and it'll help you, plan ahead, like what problem did this teacher have, or what problem did they have. But you could download the teacher guides. They have the slides, all the cartoons. They have color pictures for the materials to show the kids this is what we have available on the table to try and solve your problem. So.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Anthony. Sorry, Doug, I'll get to you in a moment, but we do have a whole webinar on how to get started. So there's a recording that I can share in the chat in a moment of just the link to last month's just getting started and sharing all those resources and how-to videos. So thank you for bringing that up, Anthony. Sorry, Doug, go ahead.
No, thank you. I agree with Anthony and Michelle. It's great tips when you're first starting with this particular module with the yes. Um, just to be short with it, is kind of it's organized chaos. But my suggestion is to start, like Michelle was saying, slow, follow the path of the curriculum. But when you get to that point where you're going, it's going to be chaos with all the materials going out, with all the students talking among each other. But if they're not discussing the solution on how to do something, to me, they're not really learning. But
Thank
if
you
you
so much.
stick with the process, then you'll be fine. I've done this, and I stay with the process of the document, and it works well. But yes, it's going to be some challenges for yourself, but it's what it's about. It's about them getting together and learning what to do and how to solve these problems. So just follow the process, and it'll be fine.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate your thoughts and just your experiences. It's always nice and feels a little comforting to know that other people are out there doing this and trying these things with students. So I have one last poll that I just launched. I'd like you to just share your thanks. So was there a piece of information you found really useful? You can just fill in the blank on this poll here just to share something that you took away or your appreciation for some of the thoughts that Doug and Anthony and Michelle shared today. And then also I'll just open it up for a Q&A here. Feel free to either raise your hand and I can unmute you so you can ask your question, or you can share a question in the chat. I know Christopher already asked a question. If anybody has any other questions to ask these veteran yes teachers who've done it, please feel free to unmute yourself. Oh, so raise your hand or type it into the chat and we can answer some of them. And while we're kind of waiting for any folks to do that, I also just want to share, folks were alluding to, all of the great resources we have online. So if you have any questions whatsoever, we are happy to answer them. Whether they're general kit and ordering questions, you can reach out to Yes at MOS, professional learning questions, and the team. I think I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Shannon McManus. I'm the Director of Professional Learning. So you can reach out to this email and I can help you with any professional learning questions, any sales. And then also you'll learn a lot about all of our resources if you sign up for our newsletter here. Now it looks like we do have a question here. Does anybody have recommendations for grants to get kits? So any thoughts on funding or grants that you might be able to use to get some of the kits?
Depending on your district, if your district has like an educational foundation, our district has one, and the grants are usually $500. And just like I said earlier, the resources are free, the printed material, the digital material. But if you choose not to purchase the materials on your own, you could buy a completed kit. And I don't know, Shannon, what's the average price of the completed kit? Maybe 250,
Yeah,
$300.
200, 300 might be average. I think the middle school ones are a little bit more expensive,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
But I
think
have to say, me being a little bit frugal, there's nothing I've ever taught in these yes units that you cannot purchase like locally at the dollar store or Walmart or Lowe's. So, but having a kit, it helps. I have one or two kits that everything is right there in the tub, the printed material and all the resources. So,
yeah. Any other thoughts in terms of funding?
I definitely crowdsource my parents. Maybe if you're at a private school, you might do that already. I, there's a lot of reusable items in the kit, but a lot of consumables as well. So like Anthony said, Dollar Tree, I pick stuff up around the house, a lot of cardboard. Um, there are some things that might be an Amazon purchase. It's not anything that parents that I've asked at my school, and if I've put out like a newsletter and asked for them, they're happy to give. Sometimes it's just stuff they have at home. Um, but I don't really know anything specific in terms of grants. I'm sorry, I wish I could be more helpful.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the same with Michelle and Anthony. We do have grants here, but I do rely on my parents. I'll put up an Amazon wish list of all the different types of materials that I need for these particular units or just things in general for my class. Because, like I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of things with consumables. So I go through a lot of different stuff. So I'll just begin of the year maybe mention, hey, we need these particular items that you may have at home. Paper towel holders or bottle tops, pill bottles or whatever. And my parents would bring them in to me. So
Thank you. Thanks, Doug. It looks like we have another point here. Garage sales and flea markets are good places to find things. You can get free items by just saying you work with kids. So those are some thoughts too. You can also, reach out to us. We don't have, very many funding opportunities. We have some for public school educators in Massachusetts because that's where we are. But we, if we're welcome to, happy to work with you to try and support or help find grants and things like that. So feel free to please reach out to us too if you're looking for any supports in that side as well. I will go back to those contact the emails as well, so you can get those again. But I do just want to highlight that we do have another webinar. So every month we have a free webinar, same time. It's not same time, same evening, but it's always from 7 to 8. And next month on November 13th. We have our new, we're releasing our new career exploration resources, which is really very exciting. I've been waiting a whole year for this. The webinar is called Engineering Futures, Connecting Youth to Real World Careers. And you'll get an overview of the new resources that are aligned with our YES enrichment units. And so they're kind of extra supplemental lessons that support students in exploring various career options, not necessarily just engineering options, but thinking about that same hands-on challenge that they experienced with the engineering unit, but now, looking at it from the perspective of the day in the life of a biomedical engineer, or there's also like little quizzes that they can take and a variety of other resources. So you'll learn about those next month on November 13th. You can click that, use that link to register, use the QR code to register.